Board meeting of the North Bar Board of Trustees to order at 6 p.m. showing all board members present. At this time, we'll move to item 2, invocation and pledge of allegiance, led by Mr. Holmes.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you at this time, Lord. We just ask you to be with us in this meeting this evening, Lord. Just be with each and every board member here, that the decisions we make will be pleasing to you, this district, and this community, Lord. Lord, we ask you to be with us because you are the only one that can make the right decisions for us and the right decisions for our kids and our faculty. Lord, we just thank you for this district. We thank you for all the many blessings you've already bestowed upon this district. We just ask you to continue to be with this district, Lord. Lord, we ask you to come into the hallways and walk with our students, our faculty, as we start a new school year, Lord, that you'll watch over them, keep them safe from this dreaded disease and any other thing that can come to harm to our precious students and our precious faculty, Lord. Lord, we just ask you to be with the ones that have lost loved ones. We ask you to be with the Crutchfield family this evening, Lord, as they've lost a loved one. And just comfort them as only you can. Lord, we just ask you to watch over our law enforcement officers here at Northmore and our community, our first responders, the uncertainty they challenge each and every day, and just lead them there and direct every one of us and go our separate ways and give us safe travel home. This is in Christ Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor and protect the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, item 3, public testimony. What'd you get? No one. Okay, no one signed up for public testimony, so we'll move to item 4, public hearing, notice of public hearing to discuss the proposed tax rate. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. See anything before? Okay. Does she need to do it with the public hearing?
She's going to wait and let her know if anyone's walked that question.
Okay, the floor is open to the public if anyone has a comment or question. You want me to wait and close it after they've heard her presentation? Okay, go ahead.
In an effort to present and explain Council 3's maximum credit tax rate for our district to adopt this evening, we are going to use a couple of slides that we've had from a previous presentation because it has a tendency to be a little convoluted, so we thought this would bring it kind of into layman's terms. So if you'll look at the first slide, and I'm talking about these that I have passed out today, if you'll look where it says the voter approval tax rate, we're going to start with the state of Texas. And the state of Texas compression's highest tax rate is estimated at 1.9164. So based on property value growth of 4.01. So if you'll turn to the next slide, this shows you the progression of all the tax rates and where we've been from 2018 and where we're going. And we fall in scenario 2. We were at $1.04 in tax year 2018. In tax year 2019, we went to 97 cents. And this year, we have an option to either be at 0.9564 or 0.9964. 9664. It was the legislature that gave us this option. So if you'll turn to the next slide, I think maybe that will try to explain what they're saying. We do not fall into the 9 to 17 or the 6 to 8 pennies. That is for people that have a $1.17 tax rate. We have the $1.04. So we have an option tonight to get 5 pennies with a unanimous vote from the board. If it is not unanimous, we will go down to 4 pennies, and that's where we will be then at 9.564. So of course we want for the district small worksheet. And I'm trying to explain on the first column at 9564, our approximate levy would be $12,351,965. If we adopt the .9664 this evening, our levy that we'll be expecting to receive for this year will be $12,468.9, and that would be a difference of $116,044. Of course, every penny counts when we're looking at our budget. And if we stay with the 9664 and we do vote that in tonight, we will lose basically $41,776 total, that's with the less than 0.5% decrease. So the district, of course, then is recommended that we adopt the .9664 for the tax rate.
I'm going to give the public another opportunity to comment or ask a question. Anyone? Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing and move to item 4A, consideration and approval, adoption of the tax rate. We'll need a motion to approve the .9664 as recommended by the administration. Made by Bo. Was that you, Red? Seconded by Red. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Okay, at this time we'll move to item 5, consent agenda. If everyone's had an opportunity to look over the consent agenda and doesn't have an item to pull, we'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move that we consent the agenda.
Motion's made by Sheila and seconded by Bo. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, item 6, action and discussion item. 6A, discussion only. Athletic update. Mr. Kirk.
Thank you, guys. So we've been working the last couple of weeks since UIL came out with the new 50% rule, in particular the stadium. For the football stadium, we've got a pretty good plan in place there. We're still tweaking it here and there. Gyms, 50% capacity. We're looking at those too. We've got them marked off already. The junior high gym's coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to work a little bit to what we did here in a couple of weeks, but we've got a pretty good plan as far as that goes. Ticket sales and things like that. Of course, safety, social distancing, masks and things of that nature will be taken into consideration there too. Bus travel for kids, we've all got good plans for that. As far as masking up, things like that, temperature checks, pre-screening, and all those types of things that are required by us by the UIL. Also our re-entry plan too. As far as safety at the field house goes, we've got just about everything we need: Clorox, bleach, wipes. As far as the hand sanitizer stations for every kid, we've got some stuff that we're spraying on the lockers to make sure that that's safe. After they leave, we're taking care of that. The gym as well, and just kind of focusing on their safety and the coaches' safety as well. So we're in the progress of a process of tweaking those things. Like I said before, it's living and breathing. It's happening all the time. So this can change tomorrow, as far as we know. So it's been interesting to say the least. But I've had a lot of help from the coaches and some of the coordinators. So they've been kind of on my side with this stuff. We're just working as hard as we possibly can to make everybody safe, coaches safe, and keep it going the way it needs to go.
Any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions?
Just keep up a good job.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We on. Coach Hensley talk.
Coach Kirk, did Coach Hensley want to say anything?
Okay, we'll move to item 6B, consideration and approval delegate hiring authority to the superintendent for the month of August. Ms. Stewart.
Okay, so when we did the resolution that went along with COVID, the hiring authority was given for the month of June and July. We currently have 2 positions available at the high school and 1 at the middle school that the campuses are in the middle of interviewing. So I would like to be given the authority to finish those hires in the month of August without having to call another special board meeting to approve those teaching positions.
Can't hear you.
I make a motion to allow her.
Okay, so motion's made by Christie and second by Alicia. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Item 6C, consideration and approval of TASB Board of Directors endorsement.
Okay, if you'll look in your book on page 23, we received a letter from Thomas Darden, who is the board president of Cooper ISD, and he is seeking re-election for the TASB Region 8 director position. Mr. Darden has served in this position the last 3.5 years. So we are, if we choose tonight to endorse him on page 26, there's a TASB endorsement form that we have to submit on his behalf.
I move that we support him.
Do you know him, Kelly?
I do not, but I've asked around and I've heard he's done a fine job with this position.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's made by Red and seconded by Sheila. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Item 6D, consideration and approval of Northmore ISD 2020-21 Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Watson.
You should have gotten in your board book the copy of this year's Student Code of Conduct. Remember, TASB Legal Department is the one that puts these together for all school districts. And since there's no new law or anything changed, this code, they didn't have a new one this year. So this Code of Conduct is exactly like the one last year. It has all the same language and everything in it. So at this time, we'd like the board to approve this year's Student Code of Conduct unless any of you have any questions.
I was thinking there was a page in here that was marked yellow. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. And I do not know why that's like that.
Okay.
I didn't catch it till after.
I thought it might be something new or a change or something.
No, that was on their copy, and I don't
Okay.
know.
Because I read whatever the
Yeah,
list
it
was of
like it was
what's
last
a
year.
felony or something like that, and didn't know
I don't
it.
know why that came out yellow like that.
I can't even find it, but anyway.
Yeah. It was a definition.
Yeah, yeah. I'll move that we accept the Student Code of Conduct as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Sheila and seconded by Bo. Is there any further discussion, questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. 6E, consideration and approval, update policy 115 local.
Okay, if you remember that on your board policy book, you should have had a list of just the local policies. That's the only thing that we vote on. And so I'm just going to do hopefully you were able to read some of the information that I gave you so you can get a better understanding of what some of these policies are. But I'm just going to kind of summarize each one and let you know a few things. The first one was BF local. It was just revised. There was only one sentence that was in there. As y'all know, we do not vote on the policies that are legal. That's just part of the law, and so they just have that one sentence that they changed in that whole revision is that the board does not vote on legal policy, which everybody knew that. They just thought they needed to put it in there. So that was the revised part on that one. Now, the DIA local, now this came in to some major revisions on this. In fact, it just said that it's policy replaced because there was so much change in it. And it was from a Supreme Court ruling from Clayton County, Georgia. And it dealt with a lot of Title IX issues. And so there's a lot of different things that are going into place August 14th. You have to have this policy and one other policy, and I'll tell you that in just a second, adopted before August 14th. And you have to train your Title IX coordinator, which in this district is me, and I've already went through my 3-hour training for that, so we should be all in compliance when August 14th is when that new mandate comes into effect. But basically what this policy is employee welfare, and addresses discrimination, harassment, and retaliation against district employees. So any kind of, it has some guidelines for reporting sexual harassment, and that's where we have to do some more training, not only for me, but some other people in our district. DMD local was professional development. It just deleted that. Didn't think that you had to have a policy to do professional development, so they just took that out. EI local is academic achievement, and it was basically revised because of the way it was written. When a student takes courses and say they pass for a half a year and then they don't the other half, this policy was rewritten so they got credit for that half a year. Where before, the way it was written, if they didn't get a 70 in each one, they had to retake it, but this gave them credit for that half a year. So it's just a little bit of revision on that. FB local, it was just revised, just a few wording in the policy. FD local, the main thing on that is the new language they had for transition assistance, and that's for your highly local students, like your homeless or your kids that are in foster care. There was basically a paragraph that was added to help those students a little more. So the LPB local attendance, it's revised policy that allows the superintendent to designate the official attendance taking time for our school. So each school district can pick whatever attendance time they want. Like ours, I think is like second period is our attendance time, so but you can set it at any time, and that policy allows the superintendent to do that. Okay, LFG, student welfare, is child abuse and neglect, and there was just a revision on that, or actually replaced the policy because there were several revisions in it, and it just deals with that. The training that we do to notice child neglect or child trafficking and stuff like that is written in that policy there. And then the LFH local is the other one I was talking about, the Title IX, that deals with students, where the other one dealt with, the DIA dealt with the employees. This one deals with students with the discrimination, harassment, or retaliation. And again, it deals with a lot of Title IX stuff in that policy. LPM-ELF, that policy was deleted, and it just talked about student activities, contests, and competitions. All of that is specified in UIL, so you don't really have to have it in your policy. LPNG local, student rights and responsibilities. About the only thing that changed in that one, if you read it, it's not like if a student is not allowed to come to a sporting event or is ejected from a sporting event, told to leave the gym or something. Before, the language in it said they had 90 days they could appeal, and the board would have to hear their appeal within 90 days. And it's always understood that the 90 days is 90 school days. Well, with this particular policy and the next policy, they changed that to 90 calendar days. And so, otherwise, they're going to get hurt a little bit quicker by using the word calendar. And that's basically the change in that policy from what we had before. And that was the same thing with GF local. It's just like when an adult, if a parent is refused to get in a sporting event or kicked out of some school event, then they can be heard within 90 calendar days as far as the appeal goes. And that's all the local ones that we have. Is there any questions on any of those policies? Okay. So at this time, we ask the board to approve the local policies presented as proposed by Tassie Leader.
Motion is made by Red and seconded by Sheila. Is any further discussion, questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, 6F, consideration and approval memorandum of understanding 2020-21 Paris Junior College dual credit in partnership with North Lamar ISD.
So in the board book, you have a copy of the memorandum. This memorandum is required by law to be posted on our website as well. I don't see anything really different in it than previous years, other than maybe a section about COVID. Actually changing possible placement guidelines for entry into junior community colleges, and universities for that matter. So, do you have any questions about or comments about this Paris Junior College memorandum of understanding for dual credit offered at high school locations?
Now, our English teachers are mainly involved in this, aren't they? Do they, I mean, what classes do we have that do count
We
as
have
students?
Melissa Arnold and Dr. Winfrey. We also have our government, our U.S. history. We have a couple. Now, some of them, like algebra, college algebra, they're the ones that are online with BJC. But history, U.S. history.
There's history. Yes, sir.
Steve Jones, that's, sorry, that name just wasn't coming to
Okay.
mind. Thank you for,
His is dual credit.
yes.
Yeah. And this seems to work well for them.
I think it works well. I would like to eventually see us offer more, if at all possible, in-house instead of the online version, because I feel like if we're offering it in-house, we have that extra relationship that we can offer with the students. We also have gotten some grant funding from TEA most recently this year that we're able to purchase some of the textbooks and materials for the students. If there's any way we can offset cost of dual credit, I would suggest that that's the way to go. And so that if any money that we come for higher education or advanced academics, we do try to put in that.
And this raises the points that, you know, whenever they evaluate our district, this is important as far as that goes,
As
isn't
long as
it?
we're teaching it in-house.
Yeah.
If it's online, it does not.
Oh, okay.
Because we have no control over
Right.
it. You know, we don't know exactly how it's being done, so that has to be protected. That's why I really would like to see if we could maybe have more teachers that have that certification to be able to teach online. Not online,
In-house. That's good.
So I believe you are in agreement with this memorandum of understanding.
Need a motion. We got a motion made by Christie and seconded by Alicia. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. What are we still? 6F or 6G, discussion on the operation connectivity.
Okay, so Operation Connectivity is from TEA. It's an option to purchase hotspots and devices with a one-to-one match from their grant funding. So we did fill out this form. You have a copy of this form in your 4 pages. You have this in your board book. And see what I filled this out and tried it. I had to go through a series of questions that they asked, and the questions they asked, we gathered information based on the 40% at that time of surveys that we had filled out by our community, our parents who said, you know, did they have internet at home? Did they need a device? That type of thing, and were they going to go online? So at the time that we got this, our turnaround was about a 72-hour turnaround. We had fortunately already had submitted a survey to our community, but not everyone was jumping in and filling it out. But for those who did, I took that percentage, which was about 40% on every campus at the time that we filled this out. It's higher now, but that's all I had to work with. And then I considered that as a percentage, and then obviously increased it to what it needed to be. And from that, then I also considered what our budget was for technology and ordered everything I could possibly order, which is really not very much. but you can see the numbers here of what I order based on this one-to-one match. And if you see the first, under mobile broadband hotspots at the bottom of page 1, we went with AT&T. Going into summer for summer school access, we went with T-Mobile. T-Mobile had a really good plan, really good option, and we tested it. But on Glenda Parsons' advice, we went with AT&T this time to have an option, so that if sometimes she said in some areas T-Mobile will work, and in some areas T-Mobile won't, but maybe AT&T will. So we did this to hedge our bets, to make sure that we had the best possible coverage. So we already have some with T-Mobile. In fact, we have 53. And then now we've ordered AT&T. We've ordered an additional 60. You can see the cost there, and then you can see that our portion of the cost is 1/2 the cost. So TEA is a one-to-one matching grant. Then on learning devices, we went with our Dell Chromebooks, which is what we currently use in the district. So adding to what we already have, and considering all the information from the survey and from our budget, we ordered 150. Again, you can see the cost at the bottom and our cost below that, so at the bottom of page 2. And then in the last column, the other thing we ordered were iPads, and iPads is what we use for our lower elementary. More ECE, pre-K, 3, 4, kinder, some first grade, just as they need it. So here we only ordered 62, and you see the cost again. So if you turn to page 3, to the top of page 3, you see total cost, and then our cost at the bottom of that, and then matching fund allocation, total state matching. Is obviously the cost that our portion was, since it's a one-to-one matching. The rest is just my signature and the execution. The other thing that TEA sent us, I have for you, is a guide to Operation Connectivity, which is what they're calling this. It's being able to make sure all students are connected that need to be connected. And their suggestion is that we would get all of this free if our local community, our local city and county government would pay the other half with local CARES funding. So I did approach them about that, and so far have gotten a couple of email responses as to just, that wasn't what they had intended this money for, but they'll consider, because they had also heard from another school district. So I did send them this, so they would see why we were asking, which is exactly what TEA sent us, is their recommendation that we request funding, the other half of funding from our local CARES Act. And so far that has not come through, but it's early in our negotiation, and I'm hoping that they will give us some support with this. Different than other grants and other purchases, this purchase is required to be made before receipt of the items. And that's in the contract, and that is through TEA. So it's very different from most of our purchasing. We have to pay up front, then they will send it to us. So any questions about this? They gave us very little time to dig in and figure out what we needed, and we just had to go with the information we had. If we could have, I think we could have used more. And when we have parents asking for devices, if they don't have a device at home, once we run out, because we have to still hold back from the devices that we need in the classroom, obviously. Once we run out, we run out. And so I'm not real confident that everybody that asks will be able to provide one, but I sure hope so. I mean, we'll do the very best we can, but we've covered all avenues that we know of to cover for budgeting purposes and buying technologies for parents to use at home.
Now, when parents say take a Chromebook, like they took some this spring and summer, did we not offer Chromebooks to kids?
For summer school, we
Well,
did.
even during the spring and March.
We did. But we also knew that the majority of our work from 5th grade and below was primarily going to be packets. The principals were very supportive of parents that if they did go to Google Classroom and a parent needed one, they would. The difference between now and what we did in the spring is the spring we were allowed to do packets, which we had, I would bet 85 to 90% of our parents wanted packets, even if they had a device, even if they had internet, even if they had a printer, because that comfort of having a packet of work to do versus trying to read it offline was what you go to in times of stress. You go to your comfort. And that was absolutely told to us up front from TEA, this will not be
Packets, right.
packets. And so this Texas Home Learning is way different from what we did in the spring.
Yeah.
So,
Now, are we getting these Chromebooks back? I mean, like, when they are responsible and they're accountable for them, and they bring them back to us at the end of the semester or year? Or,
yes.
yeah, and we're having pretty good luck getting them back?
As far as I know, from what I understand, they all came back. So, I mean, I think we have great people in our community. It's
Yeah.
just,
I mean, that's wonderful. That's great. And in high school, or are we doing the same thing
this is K through 12.
all through? Yeah.
For
That's-
anybody who
that's-
needs it, as long as we have it, and one per family. I mean, we know we have limited numbers. We know it's going to be as available.
Mhm.
So if you have a family that has more than one child in school, they'll have to take turns.
Yeah.
Which leads us back to why we're not doing synchronous learning, and, we're doing asynchronous where they can use a device as they have access to the device.
Do we need a motion to approve?
No.
Now, this was
discussion
discussion
only.
only. We wanted y'all to be aware that this was where we were and what we were doing, and we're using every avenue we have possible for funding for technology, and we sure hope we have enough to cover the needs.
I wonder if United Way will get into, do they ever get into helping schools with stuff like this?
United Way.
United Way, do they?
As far as technology devices go, no.
No. Or anything.
So how big is the possibility that we're not going to have enough devices? I mean, are we,
When I had to do this, it was way early in the survey. And I just think it's with the climate of what's going on at the time.
so are we to the point where if you have your own device, can you bring your own device? That way we open up for the kids who don't have one?
I'm not understanding what you're
Like,
asking me.
if the availability is not there, that everybody has a Chromebook, if my kid already has one, can she bring her Chromebook from home and use it from home to give access?
To work here, we're going to keep the Chromebooks here for what we need for in-house.
If you're talking about just the at-home people.
It's the ones who may need one at home. And we ask that if you have internet, don't get a hotspot from us. If you have a device, don't get a device from us. Because we're not a one-to-one district. We don't have a device per child. If we did, like more metropolitan districts that are already there, we would help pass out. But we're not going to, limit what we can do in-house by passing out too many Chromebooks. We've got to keep those in for what we need for.
I was just thinking if she could bring hers to school and that gives some other kid that doesn't have one at home access to a Chromebook, I think she would bring her own,
Yeah.
just to spread the wealth a little bit. Okay.
And one of the things that we really, I think, have tried not to do is ask anybody to transport a device back and forth on a daily basis. That's when we start seeing the wear and tear on them that, we can't afford to replace as often.
So, in the event that we were to go back to at home only, and then there was a shortage of devices potentially, how long would it take to get more and have them ready to use?
Well, for one thing, there's such a back order because so many people are asking for them, that just the supplier could be an issue. The other thing is, I think it typically takes about a month once we put an order in to get them out.
And this grant that was basically 50/50, has that got a time limit on it, or
It
is?
does. They gave us 72 hours to turn them out.
Okay.
And we could not add to our order once we placed it because I try. So and then they also had a maximum for people, but they didn't tell you what your maximum was. So you could order, and they might tell you you can't order that much, but they didn't tell you, oh, you can order more. So.
Okay. You want to have any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So 6H, consideration and approval, District of Innovation Committee update. Ms. Patterson?
Okay, the District of Innovation Council, our bylaws were established in 2017, and our council membership of our District of Innovation Council must stay at 25 total members, and at least 2/3 of those have to be classroom teachers. Over the past few years, there have been several members that have either left the district, retired, different reasons that they've left, so our membership has dropped under 25 members, and we do not have at least 2/3 of the teachers that we needed to have. So we looked at the members whom had left, and I don't know if y'all got that list or not, and looked at which campuses they represented and filled those positions with teachers or administrators from those same campuses so that our council membership had representation from each campus. The campus principals provided the names of the teachers at their campus that would serve on the council. Our District of Innovation recommends the board to approve the proposed names of the District of Innovation Council members. Y'all received the updated list dated August the 10th, and we'd like to submit this to y'all for approval.
I move that we approve this list as presented.
Okay, motion's made by Sheila and seconded by Joel. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
We move this one here since we're waiting.
Okay, so we're going to skip 6I and J, right?
Mhm.
Okay, we're going to skip 6I and J and come back to those items, and we'll go to 7, consideration approval, call for general board election on November 3rd.
Ms. Doyle.
Ms. Dole?
There was an amended order of election in your board packet, but after talking to Tricia at the election administration office on Thursday, we had to do another amended one, so I laid it up there on y'all's desk before the start of the meeting. So what it is we're going to be doing a joint agreement with the Lamar County Services Building. And we will not have early voting here. We will have early voting at the Lamar County Services Building, and on there are the dates and the times of their hours and everything, because early voting is from October 13th to October 30th. It also says on here where they, the applicants for where they need to mail in their mail-in ballot, and the last day for them to ask for a mail-in ballot. Lamar County has 32 precincts. The May election to the November election, I have found over the last week, is very different. Lots of different laws, lots of different rules. So after talking to the legal services and the Secretary of State, myself and Tricia, we are doing the joint agreement with them. That is what they told her, that or advised her that she needed to do with North Lamar. So out of the 32 precincts, North Lamar is in 12 of those precincts. So North Lamar's board election will be on the ballot at those 12 different precincts with all the other things that will be on the ballot at those 12 precincts. So I'm just asking that y'all approve the amended order of election so I can send this over to Tricia so she can get it posted on her website as well as us posting it on our website.
Okay, we have a motion made by Christie, second by Alicia. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Okay, we'll go back to item 6I, acknowledgement of conflict of interest policy, BBFA legal and local concerning application for appraised value limitation on qualified property from Mockingbird Solar Center.
Yes, and our lawyers are going to present that, and they're not here, so we need to recess until they get here.
Okay. So at this time, everyone that's here to present that's not here, so we're going to recess for a few minutes until they do get here from another board meeting. So recess at 6:40.